Let's break down tariffs, one of the most talked about tools in global economics. Imagine you're shopping for a TV, one made locally, one imported from China. At first glance, the imported one might seem like a better deal. Maybe it's even a bit cheaper, or has extra features. But then, the government steps in and adds a tax to the imported TV, making it noticeably pricier than the local option. The goal? To nudge you toward buying the local product instead, supporting businesses in your own country. It's a classic example of economic nudging, and governments have used tariffs for centuries to protect domestic industries and jobs from foreign competition. For example, if British steel is struggling against cheaper imports, a tariff can help local producers compete and keep factories running. But it's not all upside. Tariffs can raise costs for other businesses, like car makers who need imported steel to build vehicles, which can make cars more expensive for everyone. And countries hit with tariffs often retaliate, sparking trade wars that can escalate quickly and make everything from electronics to groceries more expensive. So, tariffs are a blunt tool. They protect some jobs and industries, but can also raise prices for consumers and trigger international disputes that ripple through the economy. In short, a tariff is a tax on imports designed to boost local industry, but it's a double-edged sword with unpredictable and far-reaching consequences. That's why tariffs are so controversial, especially when wielded by politicians eager to shake things up or appeal to voters. They can reshape entire economies, for better or worse, affecting everything from jobs to the prices you pay at the store. And as we'll see, they can create a climate of uncertainty that makes big companies think twice about their next move, sometimes even considering moving operations abroad. Let's see how this played out on a global stage, and what it means for the world economy today. Enter Donald Trump, a president who promised to shake up the global economic order and put American interests above all else. He made tariffs the centerpiece of his America First agenda, vowing to protect American jobs and industries from what he called unfair foreign competition. Unlike past presidents, Trump wielded tariffs as a blunt instrument, targeting China with sweeping taxes on hundreds of billions in goods, from electronics to everyday essentials. The aim? Punish what he called unfair trade practices, level the playing field, and bring manufacturing jobs back to the U.S. heartland. This wasn't subtle. It sent a shockwave through global trade, upending decades of economic policy and alliances. Electronics, machinery, furniture, clothing, almost everything from China got hit, affecting both businesses and consumers across America. But Trump didn't stop there. He slapped tariffs on steel and aluminum from allies like the EU, Canada, and Mexico, citing national security as the reason, straining even close partnerships. Allies retaliated, targeting iconic American products like motorcycles and bourbon, escalating the trade tensions into a tit-for-tat battle. The result? A chaotic, multi-front trade conflict that left businesses scrambling to adapt, with markets reacting to every new announcement. For companies like Amazon, the cost of importing goods became unpredictable overnight, making it nearly impossible to plan ahead. The world's supply chains were suddenly in flux, with delays and shortages becoming the new normal, and the rules of the game kept changing. This uncertainty made big investments riskier than ever, as companies hesitated to commit resources amid the turmoil. As Amazon was planning its next big move, the global trade landscape was anything but stable, forcing leaders to rethink their strategies. Tariffs weren't just a policy, they were a storm every multinational had to navigate, with no clear end in sight. And for Amazon, the timing couldn't have been more complicated, as the company faced a world where every decision carried new risks and unknowns. By 2017, Amazon had outgrown Seattle, its original home and the city where it had become a tech titan. The company needed a second headquarters, HQ2, to house up to 50,000 new employees and support its explosive growth. But instead of quietly picking a spot, Amazon launched a high-profile public contest, inviting cities across North America to compete for the privilege. The response was wild. 238 cities pitched everything from massive tax breaks to quirky stunts, all hoping for a shot at economic transformation and thousands of new jobs. Cities offered billions in incentives, free land, and even promises to rename streets after Jeff Bezos, hoping to stand out in the crowded field. Amazon turned site selection into a high-stakes reality show, collecting a treasure trove of data on infrastructure, tax policy, and talent pools from every corner of the continent. The process pitted cities against each other, revealing just how far they'd go to attract a corporate giant, and how fierce the competition could get. For over a year, speculation ran rampant as Amazon narrowed the list to 20 finalists, keeping the public and city leaders on edge. The company was looking for a large, skilled workforce, great transport links, and crucially, generous incentives that would make the deal irresistible. But this wasn't just about logistics, it was about leverage and power, and Amazon knew it. Amazon now knew exactly what every city was willing to offer, giving it unprecedented insight into the priorities and limits of local governments. The contest showcased Amazon's power and the extraordinary lengths cities would go for jobs, investment, and a shot at transforming their economies. It also set the stage for a dramatic decision, shaped by politics as much as economics, and watched closely by the entire country. The stakes were enormous, and the outcome would ripple far beyond the winning city, affecting communities and economies nationwide. When the announcement finally came, it was anything but simple, sparking debate, excitement, and controversy. The HQ2 saga was about to take a surprising turn, one that no one could have fully predicted. And not everyone would be happy with the result. Some would feel left behind, while others questioned if the prize was worth the price. In November 2018, Amazon split HQ2 between Arlington, Virginia and Long Island City, Queens. Each would get about 25,000 jobs, tapping into two massive talent pools near political and financial power centers. The logic: diversify risk, double influence, and avoid overwhelming one city's labor market. Both locations offered huge incentive packages. New York's was over $1.5 billion, Virginia's nearly $600 million, all tied to job creation. Politicians hailed it as a victory, promising economic growth and prestige. In Virginia, the mood was upbeat. In New York, skepticism grew fast. Critics questioned the size of the subsidies, the impact on housing, and the secretive negotiations. The deal sparked fierce debate, especially in New York. The stage was set for a showdown between Amazon, politicians, and the community. The next act would be even more dramatic. Not everyone was ready to roll out the red carpet. The backlash in New York was immediate and intense. Local politicians, led by Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and others, demanded to know why billions in subsidies were going to Amazon while public services struggled. Critics slammed the secretive negotiations and warned of rising rents and strained infrastructure. Public hearings turned into grilling sessions for Amazon execs, who seemed unprepared for the hostility. The company's PR missteps only fueled the opposition. Ultimately, Amazon pulled the plug, citing fierce local resistance and a lack of political support. The dream of a New York HQ2 was over, not because of economics, but because of grassroots activism. It was a stunning victory for community power over corporate ambition. So, did Trump's tariffs kill Amazon's New York deal? The evidence says no. The timeline doesn't fit. Amazon chose New York and Virginia after tariffs were already in place. If tariffs were the main concern, Amazon could have picked cheaper locations or demanded different incentives, but they didn't. The real reason for the New York exit was clear, relentless local opposition, not trade policy. Amazon's own statements and public records confirm it. The idea that tariffs drove the HQ2 drama is a narrative fallacy, a neat story unsupported by facts. The real story is about local politics, not global economics. Tariffs were a big deal, but they weren't the deciding factor here. The HQ2 saga was shaped by community activism and political pushback. Sometimes the simplest explanation is the right one. If tariffs weren't the culprit, what changed for Amazon in Virginia? Two forces: a shaky global economy and the remote work revolution. By 2023, inflation, rising interest rates, and tech layoffs made big investments risky. At the same time, COVID-19 had normalized working from home, making massive office towers less essential. Amazon paused the next phase of its Virginia HQ, citing economic uncertainty and new hybrid work policies. The first phase opened, but the future of the Grand Penn Place Tower was suddenly in doubt. The world had changed, and so had Amazon's needs. The real driver wasn't tariffs, it was a fundamental shift in how and where people work. The office of the future looked very different from the one Amazon had planned. In New York, Amazon's HQ2 was canceled outright. In Virginia, it's just paused. The difference matters. A pause is a strategic delay, not a defeat. Amazon remains committed to Virginia, with thousands already working in the new offices. The second phase, Penn Place, was put on hold to reassess needs in a changed world. The incentive package in Virginia is performance-based, protecting taxpayers if Amazon slows down. Local officials were disappointed but understood the logic. The pause reflects Amazon's need to adapt to economic shifts and remote work trends. Unlike New York, the relationship with Virginia's leaders stayed strong. The future of Penn Place is uncertain, but the project isn't dead. It's a lesson in corporate flexibility during unpredictable times. What's the takeaway from Amazon's HQ2 saga? First, local politics matter, a lot. Community opposition can derail even the biggest plans. Second, corporate hubris is risky. Amazon's public contest backfired, making it easy for critics to mobilize. Third, adaptability is crucial. The world changes fast. Companies must pivot when reality shifts. The pause in Virginia shows the value of flexibility in uncertain times. Finally, don't oversimplify. National policies like tariffs matter, but local factors and global trends can be even more decisive. For big business, the lesson is clear. Success depends on understanding the full, messy interplay of politics, economics, and community. The headlines rarely tell the whole story. In the end, it's not just about where you build, but how you listen, adapt, and engage. That's the real secret to surviving in a world that never stands still.